Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education.
There was a day, if you're down and out right now, always remember there was a day when everybody was super proud of you. The thing is that day is still today. It's still right now. No one ever stopped being proud of you. You just got in your own head.
Warriors, fall in. It's time for formation. Today we're joined with a Marine Corps combat veteran who proudly served in Operation Iraqi Freedom back in 2007. His entire civilian career has been focused in the construction industry and is now fixated on solving some of the world's greatest issues when it comes to communication. His business is looking to help both contractors and property owners better converse with one another to save time, money, energy, and resources. Today, I'd like to welcome Ron Nussbaum to the Morning Formation podcast. Sir, thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Like we were just talking about, I've been looking forward to this one. I'm super excited.
Hey, man, the honor is all mine. When you reached out to me and I checked out your website and the fact that you served in Iraq just a couple years after me, and the fact that it sounds like you're originally from the Buckeye State, which is where I spent the later part of my life. And you're also an Ohio State fan. Am I correct?
Absolutely. You know, some of us just have to be winners and champions. And I'm blessed to be from Ohio, so I get to be one.
Yeah, my father retired out of the Army and moved back to his home state of Ohio, and he currently lives there right now. So half my heart, I always say half my heart is in Ohio, even though I was born in Hawaii. So it's a strange combination, but yeah, I'm truly a fan of Ohio State and the Buckeye State as well. So it's great to connect with you. I really appreciate you reaching out to us, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm glad to be here. I get a lot of opportunities to do interviews in these days, and this, like I said, is one I was really looking forward to. The military and veteran community that's where my heart's at. I have a great passion for it. And at the end of the day, I really feel my mission is somehow going to align in that word. I just don't know what I don't have that clarity yet on what exactly that's going to be. So anytime I can partake in something that involves our current military veterans, I jump at the opportunity.
Yeah, I actually started this podcast because of folks like you who are out there winning and in their, I guess, second career, getting out of the military. So I really appreciate you reaching out to me. And just to start things off, Ron, so you're in the Marines. Would you mind talking to us about how you ended up there and where you're from originally?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to get a little bit more information than most people will because this is the morning formation. This is military people, so I can talk a little bit more openly. And I'm originally from the Akron, Ohio area. If you talk to my mom, she would say that when I was about 6 years old, I met a Marine at church. I had to, like my mom said, I had to have my picture. Saw him walk in his dress blues, told her that I need to go get my picture with him, and I did. And she says in her mind that was the day that I had made the decision I was going to be a Marine. I didn't end up going into the Marine Corps until kind of later. I was probably 22, 23 at the time when I finally made the decision. And it came down to, I had to do it. I didn't want to go through my entire life wondering if I could be a Marine. And a lot of people don't know this. I had a tattoo on my neck that I got removed to go to the Marine Corps. It took me about 13 months to actually go from when I walked into the recruiter the first time and the sergeant major in there looked me straight in the eyes and told me you would never be a Marine. And 13 months later, I was standing on the yellow footprints at Paris Island, becoming a United States Marine. So there's been some trial and error just leading up to that. And it wasn't just something that I walked in and punched my ticket to be a Marine. I had to make the decision. And that's what I really wanted to do. And I went and did it.
Yeah. It sounds like you had to jump through some hoops as well in order to become a Marine. And my hat's off to you, because I know a lot of folks that do join the military, but they find themselves with their backs against the wall. And it sounds like you were so moved to do military service that you were willing to get that tattoo off your neck and do whatever it took to find yourself in a uniform. So, like I said, my hat's off to you for going through all that trouble and doing that. But when you signed up for the military, you eventually found yourself, it was during the Iraq and Afghanistan time period. You knew that you were going to deploy it at some point in time. You found yourself in Iraq. So can you talk to us about how that first deployment looked for you, and how would you summarize your first deployment?
So, I mean, I was there a couple years after you were there. So it wasn't nearly as kinetic as what it was. We in 2004, 2005. But, we spent our squad out at a forward operating base, 30 guys for 6 months together, building that bond, going on patrols. And like you said, when I signed up, I wanted to be in the infantry. I wanted to be a rifleman. So we knew where we were headed. And I'll say the greatest thing that came from it all is just the relationships that you get to build when you're downrange. There's a different relationship that you build as you go through training and doing the workup. And then once you get downrange and you spend one-on-one time with people and you're not getting much sleep, you create a bond that defies all logic, I guess would be the best way to put that. And I wouldn't trade my experience for anything. I loved it. It's what I wanted to do. And if it wasn't for other reasons, I would probably still be a United States Marine. It was kind of in my blood. It's what I felt like I was going to do, but that wasn't in the cards. So here we are having this conversation today.
Yeah, and stateside, where were you stationed at?
Camp de June in North Carolina.
Okay. And do you come from a military family or no?
No, I'm actually the very first person in my family to ever go serve in the military.
Wow. That's I think that's tough in itself. My father was in the Army, so I kind of had an idea of what the Army life was like, being an Army brat growing up. And I know that when my dad retired and I was around 13 years old, I moved to the middle of the corn and soybean fields of Ohio, where very few people actually served in the military. So I was kind of like a black sheep out there. So that must have been a real challenge for you to be the first person in your family to serve during a time of war. It must have been a lot of stress on your family. But your career transition that you took going from the military to the civilian side was involved in construction. Were you involved in construction prior to joining the military?
No, not at all. Not one. I had worked on cars, done automotive reconditioning and detailing work. When it came to framing stuff out and doing all of that, I had zero experience.
So at what point in time did you actually find an interest in construction?
So that story in itself is another kind of like just that perseverance and figuring out what you're supposed to do and go do it. I was detailing cars at a Cadillac garage in Michigan. I ended up in Michigan when I got out of the Marine Corps. That's where my wife was from, and that's where we moved to afterwards. So I was looking for what does that next career path look like? What am I going to do and spend the rest of my life doing? And I kept looking out there, and there was this ad on Craigslist that I kept seeing for this foreman in training role. And I went and applied. Like a week went by and I just went and applied because I was like, I have no experience. I'm just not cut out. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. Finally, one day I'm looking at it and I go, I'm a United States Marine, damn it. If I want to go be a foreman in training, I can go be a foreman in training. Like, this isn't hard. So I applied, got a call back, went to the interview and it was an old Army guy. And he said, I called you, you have no experience, but you're a United States Marine. And I always liked Marines. And that led me into getting that job. And the last two people that he had hired both just graduated with construction management degrees. And here I stood 4 years in the Marine Corps, no college education, never worked in construction, but was able to get the job because I was a Marine. And the way he looked at it is I would get things done. He trusted people that were in the military would show up, they would do their job, and they would learn.
Right. So that overall discipline and accountability, that reputation of being a Marine kind of led you to getting that job, that career transition, I guess, that you were looking for. How many years were you with that company?
I was with that company up until just recently. So I was there for almost 12 years. And, the first day on the job there, I wanted to quit so bad. I got stuck behind a HVAC system running a jackhammer. And, it was that military mindset that I wouldn't leave because I was like, I'm not like these college kids. Like, I'm not going to let them go home and be like, I beat a Marine out today at work. So I think that kind of what laid into the fact that I spent that much time doing what I was doing. I loved it, but it was a good transition to be able to go do something physical, to be able to just kind of relieve that stress and do something that was hard.
Right. So you spend 12 years working for the same company and you moved your way up, and now you've decided to make another career pivot, which is start your own business. Can you talk to us about Nut Nest and what that involves?
Yeah. So how that all came about is in that 12 years, I've worked in every aspect of the business, from digging the hose to running the company. And over that period of time, what I heard all too often was, hey, we love you. We love the work you do. We love your guys, but your communication sucks. And that's where the ball started rolling for me. And I started thinking about how can we make it so it doesn't? And is this something that is a trend, or what exactly is going on? So I did a little bit of research and I could track back about 90% of all customer complaints, the escalated customers I would deal with, to a singular point where communication broke down. Either they didn't get the call back or they didn't get the answer that they thought they should get. And from that, Nut Nest was born. And what we do is, I like to say, we're air traffic control for contractors. We help customers communicate with their contractors, builders, home service providers, and we get one-call solutions. So no more picking up the phone, calling your contractor and hearing, hey, sorry, I'm not the guy, which 95% of the time, the person that comes out to your house isn't the person that can answer any of the questions after they leave. But unfortunately, that's the only person's number you have. So we create a word where you reach out to the right people, you get those answers. We create that transparency in the project and that trust between contractors and homeowners that the industry is striving for, and what the customers want and what the contractors want a solution to.
Yeah, translation is always a huge problem, and people don't really understand how big of a problem it is. Everything from what I talk about with military to civilian career transition, explaining to a civilian the value that you undertook with the training that you had in the military and how that translates to the civilian side, the communication between, like you said, the technical side of home building, property construction, and things like that, to the basic homeowner who may not understand how important it is to pour your foundation properly, is huge. And so you saw a problem, you saw a pain point. I'm project management certified, so I feel like Nut Nest would be a great tool to utilize for a project manager. And for the audience listening, can you explain specifically what pain points, the overall impact importance that Nut Nest solves for the entire construction process? And what I mean by that is the impact as far as dollars saved, time saved, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch base real quick on what you were just saying is I went from one word, the military, where you have a lot of jargon, and I moved into construction, another industry that has the same
Yeah.
thing. And I preach clarity and being clear all the time as a first step in communication. Because homeowners don't understand what you're saying half the time because you're speaking construction. Let's be clear and precise with our communication with our customers, whether you're in construction or retail sales. Don't use the jargon, use the lingo that your customers understand. And that right there will bring down a lot of the confusion that we have in communication. But to answer your question there, 35% of time in construction is wasted because of results of communication, whether that's delays in products, delays in crews being at houses. What we see all too often is crews sitting at houses not doing any work because there's no clarity between the contractor and the customer on what exactly is supposed to be happening. Or, my all-time favorite is the crew shows up and they can't get in the house. So we're decreasing that. So when people show up at houses or when the crews show up there, they know exactly what they're doing. That customer and that contractor are on the same page. Questions have been asked. The communication has happened. They know we've created this live feed right in there. I like to say it's like Facebook, Instagram, but for your house project. So if you're a homeowner, you go into NutNest app, you look right at your project, and you see, hey, this is my last communication with the contractor. This is when they're going to be out here. This is what the proposed, all the different pictures, any kind of interactions that you have had is right there in that live feed. So we're decreasing that confusion that happens, providing transparency from the contractor to the customer. So then that customer is now empowered. We're kind of flipping the script here because a lot of people say, the customer should be more responsible for communication, but that doesn't happen because they get afraid they're going to pick up the phone and nobody's going to answer, and then they get discouraged. So now we put them in a position where they know if they pick up the phone and call that contractor, they're going to be able to get those answers, and they're going to ask the questions that they really want to ask that delay a project down the road because that customer doesn't ask it because they're too afraid to say, when Ron was out here, he's not the guy that can answer this question, but that's the only phone number I have. I know he's busy. I'm not going to bother him. I'll just wait. And then when that customer waits, that starts to fester. That starts to become an even bigger issue. What we want is that customer to feel empowered to pick up the phone and reach out to that contractor because they're not calling Ron. They're calling John or Mary or the person at the company that has that answer. And by doing that, we decrease the escalated customers and also increase the productivity when your guys are at the house.
Yeah, and time is money, right? Time is money to have folks at your house, and it sounds like a lot involved. You mentioned NutNest, the app. So explain to our audience out there what NutNest would look like on the property owner end of it and the contractor end of the entire service.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a homeowner, a customer's perspective, NutNest is just a simple download. You download the NutNest app, and then that right there is where you control your projects going forward as long as you're working with a contractor that's on the NutNest platform. And then from a contractor's perspective, it's all web-based. So we didn't make it a mobile app because that locks down contractors to have an iPad or a phone. And different people have different roles. So everything's web-based. They can access it from their desktops, their laptops, their phones, tablets, any way to be able to communicate back and forth, update those projects right in there, and handle that communication aspect. And the great thing for the contractors and the homeowners is that this is all stored real time and we keep all of this data. So if that homeowner goes a year later to look back and see who was out at my house and what was that conversation and everything, they have all that information. And say something does become escalated, that contractor can look back and look and say, hey, this is all the different communication my guys had was there a breakdown? Well, was there a miscommunication? Or what do we need to train on something here? Or do we just need to show the homeowner that, hey, we said we were going to be out there at 3. You thought 3 hours. It was a miscommunication. Right here, you can see on messaging where that breakdown happened. So it's amazing to be able to offer that, because that's all part of that transparency as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely part of the transparency, but it's also great that they keep a history of the communications to see how they could do better if they didn't properly communicate with the customers, because it's each and every single person that they serve should be a positive, or if it is a negative experience, it should be something that they walk away from, lesson learned at least. And Ron, so starting a business is not an easy chore. It's scary. It's risky. There's a lot of things involved in that. What inspired you to step up and solve the issues of contractor to customer or client communications? Where did you find this courage to create NutNest?
Because if not me, who? Like, this isn't a solution that somebody was attacking head on. And what I got tired of seeing was a bunch of halfway designed solutions that were just add-ons to existing software, because this is a complaint, but not directly going out and fixing the problem, and actually adding more confusion to the overall scheme of things. And that I don't like that. And I think we should go solve this problem. And I feel it's my mission. And I was able to become aligned, and I got a great co-founder in Jared Yellen. That I'm a non-technical guy. I'm not a tech person. So it took me a while to get to where we're even are right now. But it's something that when I look in the mirror, I know I'm the right guy to go do this. NutNest is the solution, and Ron Nussbaum is the person to take that to market. And that's why, because no one else is going to go do it. It's like when I showed up and the recruiter told me, you're never going to be a United States Marine. If I don't do this, no one else will in the industry. We're just accept the same status quo. It's accepted for years, and they would just continue to say, hey, it's the construction industry, communication, hey, it is what it is. And I believe that it can be more, and I want to change that mindset in the construction industry.
Well, Ron, you had the guts to walk to the Marine recruiters yourself without having anyone else in your family guide you there, and you had the guts to sign up for something that you didn't know a whole lot about and step up and serve your country as a United States Marine. And during a time of war, that's very impressive in itself, and I think that speaks volumes about why you decided to step up and help solve this problem of communication in an industry that you're very passionate about. Obviously, you spent 12 years in that industry. So I wanted to ask you, as far as I was looking at your website, and I see that there's something on here about a 10K or 10X incubator. I'm sorry. Would you mind talking about that 10X incubator and how that's helped you?
Yeah, so that's where I really started getting the traction, and that's how I got connected with Jared Yellen. Was through the 10X Incubator and Grant Cardone and them guys down in Florida, and that's where we started really getting that traction. And Project 10K has played a huge role in that, and that's Jared. That's Jared Yellen's the founder of that. And without them, NutNest would still just be something I was trying to do myself. And unfortunately, in the world we live in today, unless you're in Silicon Valley or you want to burn about $10 million, having a tech startup is not possible. But with people like Jared and Grant Cardone down there, they allowed people to step up and bring ideas and partner with people that have a background in taking stuff to market. And that it's been unbelievable, and it's been an amazing ride.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of different, I don't know, I guess co-founders that you can connect with, incubators out there that help out. Was any of this 10X incubator, was it linked to you being a military veteran?
No, it was all based on that was part of my pitch. So I can't let me
Right.
backtrack that a little bit. I can't say yes or no to that because it was of course part of my pitch is I'm a United States Marine. I have that the rest of my life. I can lead with that. I lead with that on my website. Like
Right.
that's part of who I am. So I would have to say the bottom line is if I would have never walked into that recruiter's office, we would never be having this conversation right now.
Mhm.
Nutness wouldn't exist. And that's just the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. What advice would you have for others within the military community who seek to also journey down the start my own business path?
Yeah. So what's amazing is there's two things that I always say. And that's take number one is always take action. That's the most important thing you can do. There is no bad outcomes. There's no mistakes, as long as you are taking action with the right mindset and to do good, good will come from that. And I think the military community understands that. They don't have a problem with taking action. Number two is the universe is never wrong. It's going to put you in the right place, having the right conversations. But it's up to us to figure out what direction that needs to go and what that connection or that situation needs to turn into. And I think that's where we can get hung up a lot of times is that, hey, the universe has put me here and we look at it negatively when we should look at it positively. Like, why am I here right now? And what is the outcome I'm supposed to create because of this? And I think if you take those two things, you can't go wrong. You, as long as you're doing things for the right reason, nothing bad can happen.
Hoorah, Devil Dog. Listen, man, my hat's off to you, man, for stepping up and stepping out and getting this thing off the ground. And has it actually launched or is it launching soon?
Yeah, we're live throughout the United States October 1st. So I don't know when this will be out there in circulation, but by then it should be completely live.
I'll try to get on it, man. I've got just a couple of weeks. I'll try to get on it and get it edited and get it out there, I guess. Hopefully in time for that to happen. I have to take a look at my calendar, but I didn't realize it was launching October 1st. That's fascinating, man. I'm looking forward to keeping track of where Nut Nest is going to be going from here on. But just early on, wanted to ask you, is there any traction with it right now? Have you signed any major contracts with any major real estate or construction companies so far?
So I have a waiting list of contractors and builders ready to be on the platform. We've done some pre-selling as well, and I don't want to let any of the cats out of the bag on any of what exactly is going on. But we do have some pretty exciting deals in the works with some great people in the construction industry that we're going to partner with and help roll this out to their networks as well.
Well, you got me excited, man. So I had to ask that question. I apologize for letting the cat out of the bag too early, but I'm excited for you, Ron. And over the horizon, do you have any advice for our veteran community out there that who might be struggling with that career transition or anything that we might not have covered during this entire episode so far that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I think that if you have a military background, you can go do anything. And it doesn't matter where you currently are at. The next step is all that matters. And you have to just continue going there. And don't ever be afraid. And don't ever let something feel like it's out of reach because it's not. When I looked at that foreman in training role, I felt like that was out of reach when I should have been looking for foreman roles. I shouldn't have been looking for a foreman in training role. Like I already checked that box. And I think we get in our own head and we downgrade what our experience are. It's like what you were talking about earlier when you said about being able to speak to a civilian about what your experience is and how that translates. We let that get in our head and we need to get out of our own heads and just take the action and go in there with confidence and just win. Be the champions that we are and just go get the job done. every day and step up. Just like if you were going to morning formation, you got to do the same thing every day in your life and show up for either your existing job or going to find a job. Don't be afraid, and don't ever let anybody look at you and make you feel like you don't rate, because that's not true. It doesn't matter where you served, when you served, or how you served. You signed up, you went and got the discipline, you rate. Go do it and go continue to make people proud, because there was a day, if you're down and out right now, always remember there was a day when everybody was super proud of you. The thing is that day is still today. It's still right now. No one ever stopped being proud of you. You just got in your own head. And I will say real quick on that note, my dad did go to the recruiter with me. So I wasn't there by myself. I did have my dad with me.
Yeah, there's no way. Even my own father, he did help me join the military and go into the Army. But I think there's a big difference when you have a father that understands the lingo and has been there before. Your father was probably sitting with you, scratching his head as well when they were throwing out those acronyms and stuff, but he was trying to find what was best for his son, and joining the Marines is something he probably knew that you wanted to do.
Yeah, he was probably going, oh no, there's got to be a way you guys can get him in here. Like, don't be saying no.
Get him out of here. Get him out of my house, right?
Yeah, get him in the Marine Corps and get his life started. But it's super exciting to go do stuff like that. And I think we all need to reflect on that experiences that we have had.
Yeah, I think for me, joining the military, for me, it forced me to open the new chapter of my life. I was enlisted in the Army National Guard there in Ohio, and then I went active duty as an officer for 4 years. And it's so funny because like I graduated from college. A lot of my friends from high school and college, they continued living their lives after school comfortably. I went in, got stationed at Schofield Barracks back in my home state of Hawaii, deployed to Iraq within 30 days as a second lieutenant. And I lost contact with a lot of people at that point. The people I did regain contact with, they were like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "I deployed. Like, I grew up. I was in charge of a platoon in a combat zone while everyone was back here still enjoying the clubs and the pubs." For me, the military forced me to kind of grow up, and I do appreciate that a lot. And I love what you said about remembering just who the hell you are. If you're a veteran and you served in the military, you are someone who had a lot of sacrifice, a lot of perseverance, a lot of overcoming obstacles. So find who you are and don't forget who you are. And I think that had a lot to do with you starting this business out. And Ron, people out there who are interested to connect with you, maybe they want to follow up with something that you mentioned here on the Morning Formation podcast, or they just want to follow you. What social media platforms can they find you on?
So you can find me on pretty much everything out there. Find on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Ron Nussbaum. Go to nutnest.com. Set up a time to see a demo. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, that's the easiest way to get to me. And if you're a military guy, a veteran, and you don't even want to talk about NutNest, you just want to talk to me, feel free to go on there, schedule a call, and I would love the opportunity to be able to talk to you.
I appreciate folks like you, Ron, looking back, providing your mentorship and also helping folks behind you level up as well and making yourself available like that. I truly appreciate it. And for folks out there listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can scroll to the description. You're going to find all the links that Ron just mentioned. If you're listening to this on the audio, scroll down to the show notes. You'll see all the links to contact Ron down there as well if you're interested in following up. Ron, I just want to thank you for joining us on the Morning Formation podcast, and I want to say go Buckeyes.
Oh, hey, OH, and it has been a blast. And thank you for having me. At any time, I'm available.
Brother, you got me excited for you and October 1st. I am looking forward to following up and seeing where this goes, man. And I'm really excited for you. You got me excited during this podcast. So thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We're going to have to get you on the platform. I mean, you're out here doing project management stuff. It's a perfect fit. We'll have to get you signed up.
All right, man. Let's do it. We'll talk more after this. And for everyone else out there, I just want to thank you for joining us on the Morning Formation podcast today and listening to Ron's story. As always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.